there should be places for everyone to be able to have a home over their head.
Ireland's losing a lot of good college graduates.
The big issue at hand with corporation tax. We need someone fighting for things that just make sense.
It's the first full week of the campaign and we've come down to Cork. The Christmas decorations are up, the election campaign posters are up, and we've come out with our whiteboard to ask voters what the big issues are for them.
I just feel even going around town these days, seeing the cost of simple things, even if it's just a drink renting going up, especially when you're a student trying to get that part-time job in at the weekend and go to college during the week. And you nearly want to start saving for a mortgage now with the part-time job I have, with the price of houses these days. And
you're obviously young, you're students, do you plan on staying in Cork? Do you plan on moving abroad?
There's not enough money in nursing in Ireland, and when I'm after giving 4 years to them and not getting paid for it, and I'm doing the same work as the nurses, but I just don't have the title yet, so it seems a bit unfair.
Okay, so you've written down the housing crisis. So why is that a big issue for you?
Well, I actually lived in a women's refuge for quite a few years, and then I'm attending college, trying to pay rent. I have 2 kids at home. It's something that is extremely difficult to try and manage the finances of all of that. It's just something that is really bearing down on people.
See, the outgoing government would say that there are plans to build more homes and that, previous budgets have given things like rent credits. What would you say to that?
They're not all accessible. I was, and I still am, on HAP, but a lot of landlords, I know they're legally required to accept HAP, but there are many ways around that, where if you say that you are a HAP recipient, they won't rent to you, they'll tell you that. Nope, they just went with someone else, which is a valid answer because there are so many other people who are looking for rent.
You have written student housing and 2 exclamation points.
I was very fortunate. I found a house this year, but up until about August, I didn't know if I had a house. And I'm from Galway, so it's not possible for me to commute.
Even before I started college, a big topic wasn't even just getting the points to your course, it was getting housing. It was nearly more difficult to get somewhere to stay than actually getting into the course itself.
The homelessness crisis is very prominent. It's been an issue for several years, and the cost of living is only getting higher, and there's not much being done. It's everyone knows it's an issue and it only gets bigger and bigger, but then there's no real solutions.
Even just so much students, there's so much derelict housing around the place and everything. There isn't much being addressed with that. It's not being utilised the right way. So many students coming in, there's a big focus on luxury student accommodation as opposed to affordable accommodation.
So it's lunchtime now and we've come to the English market. So far the voters we've spoken to have said housing and the cost of living are the biggest issues for them. They're the issues that they want a future government to tackle.
Certainly spending because I don't feel that the government are held accountable for all the decisions they've made. And the big problem for Ireland is, if you look at the top line picture, we've had a boom in corporation tax. Where will we be in 5-6 years' time when Trump comes in? Is Trump is in power and takes back some of the American conglomerates, and the same around Europe again? I feel that money is something that we should really focus on spending accurately and spending wisely.
What would you like a future government to do with that corporate tax fund?
Build Ireland, build brand Ireland, and do a lot more than just relying on American corporation tax.
So you've written down fishing. Why have you done that?
My personal background, my own father's a fisherman, and I'm working within the industry. There's been massive changes within the last few years between our own quotas getting cut back, not being allowed to use specific types of fishing and all this sort of carry on. But there's been no sort of give and take with it. We haven't been given anything in return.
What can the Irish government do about this? I mean, some of this is obviously tied up in EU regulation. What would you want to see a future government do to support fisheries?
I can't say there's any one quick fix answer, but I'd just love to see a bit of action and someone really trying to tackle these issues, because what I've seen, there's no one really going on about it. We need someone fighting for things that just make sense.
So you've said rent.
Yeah.
Why have you said that?
Well, for us as students at the moment, rent is obviously the biggest issue, not even only for students, for all young people in Ireland. You see it with people moving away and all. Ireland's losing a lot of good college graduates. People have been working for a while because they can't afford to live here. You can't afford to rent.
Well, I went with housing because it is very difficult, and it's a constant worry of will I be living in the same place in 6 months' time? And then I wrote homeless because I'm very fortunate to not experience that myself. So I really hope with the upcoming election that the people brought into it are going to make a big difference in those two categories specifically, and then tied in with the refugees as well and the far right campaigners who have been out on the streets. It's quite sad to see, because I don't feel like it's a good representation of Irish people, especially young Irish people, who want to welcome these people in and try help how we can, while also struggling with the housing crisis ourselves. I don't think we should exclude anybody from that.